Have you ever started the new year full of excitement and ambition, only to find yourself losing steam just a few weeks later? In this episode, we're going to dive into the secret to lasting motivation, the key to staying consistent and crushing your goals all year long. You're going to learn about the 3 angles of motivation that you can leverage to keep yourself on track and avoid becoming another statistic of unfulfilled resolutions and goals. By the end of this episode, you're going to have the tools to stay inspired, focused, and ready to make 2025 your best year yet. And this is going to be part 1 of a 5-series episode on maximizing your motivation and hitting your goals to kick off the year. But before we dive in, if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below. All right, guys, welcome to 2025, baby. I am super excited about this 5-part series of podcast episodes that I'm going to put together for you guys. And those of you guys who are listening and you're in the 10-week transformation, I'm going to basically be breaking down the 5 steps to goal success in a concise manner. For those people who have never done a 10-week transformation, this is a framework called the 5 steps to goal success that I go into more depth in if you actually do the 10-week transformation. But before I dive into the first step, I want to invite you to book a free call with me, a 30-minute Zoom call where you can hop on with me right here via video, and we can discuss what your goals are, what your challenges are, and how we can set you up for success so that you can stay on track with your goals, not just at the beginning of the year, but throughout the entirety of the year. So you can go to nickcarrier.com, book a free call with me, select the day and a time that works best for you, and I would love to hop on a call with you. But let's dive into it. So in the 10-week transformation, I call this building your big, your BYG. Your BYG stands for your best you goal. And really what this comes down to is 3 angles of motivation, because I really believe that your why isn't just what gets you started, but it's what keeps you going when what you started gets tough. You know, a lot of people say, find your why, or what is your why behind whatever your goals are. And it sounds like such a kind of like soft, touchy, mushy topic. But if you actually take the time to dig deep and ask yourself specific questions as to why it's really important for you to do something difficult, why it's really important for you to attack a particular health and fitness goal, then you can actually come up with some real substance that can provide you with motivation, not just on the forefront of your goal, but when things get difficult, those 3 angles of motivation are going to be the things that can get you to go to the gym on the day that you're tired. It can make you make a meal at home rather than do Uber Eats. And so identifying the 3 different angles of motivation will allow you to have as much motivation on your motivation wagon as possible. So when you need some sort of motivation, because when you're tired and you're not feeling great and you're worn out, then you can pull from it. So here are the 3 different angles of motivation. The first part is identifying what you want to avoid. So you hear a lot of athletes oftentimes say, and it's not just athletes, it's anybody who might be competitive. They say, I hate losing more than I like winning. And that's the motivation to avoid. That is, I really, really, really don't want to lose. Like, sure, I want to win, but like I really, really don't want to lose. And that provides them the motivation to go. And then you also should understand that we would actually, as a human being, run faster if we were trying to run away from a lion, a tiger, or a bear than if we were trying to chase down a lion or a tiger or a bear. That motivation to avoid death, if you will, is the thing that can really get us going. And then, I remember one of the examples that really made this idea apparent for me, or made the idea and the power of the motivation to avoid very apparent to me, is you hear so many people who are really, really successful talk about how they grew up broke. And they're like, I knew I did not want my life to look like that when I grew up. And so they had a clear vision of what failure looks like. They had a clear vision of like, I don't want this to be my life. I got to work away from this. And that was the motivation that they needed to take action and create a new life for themselves. And so when it comes to your health and fitness goals, what does that look like for you? Do you want to avoid having to buy new clothes? Do you want to avoid ending up like your parents or your grandparents? Do you want to avoid not being able to play with your children or your grandchildren? And what this really comes down to is when you identify what you want to avoid or what you want to work away from, this provides you with urgency. And so, motivation is kind of the umbrella term. And there are a few different types of motivation. And urgency is one of those types. Like, think about if a tiger was chasing you. Like, you have freaking urgency to avoid that particular thing. If you are winding down towards the end of the game and you're losing, but it's a close game, you're going to have a sense of urgency to do whatever you can in order to not lose. And so this provides you with urgency to take action. And so when you have top of mind, I want to avoid having to buy new clothes, then that'll be like, all right, I'm going to get my butt to the gym. Or, all right, I'm going to actually make this a home cooked meal rather than go out and get fast food. For me personally, I'm going to relate these ideas to my goal that I'm attacking here at the beginning of the calendar year. And that's, I'm running a marathon on April 26th. And basically, when I built out my why, I have took these 3 different angles of motivation. I was like, I want to be the type of person who does not avoid the regret of never having done a marathon. I don't want to be the type of person who doesn't push myself outside of my comfort zone. So I basically want to avoid the regret that I would have if I never ran a marathon, especially during this season of my life when I feel like I'm maybe as fit as I potentially am going to be. So you want to start off by identifying what you want to avoid, because it will provide you with more motivation in the sense of urgency. The second part of building your big, and the second angle of motivation, is identifying what you want to achieve / who you want to become. Like, what type of person do you want to be throughout 2025? What type of person do you want to be? Healthier? Do you want to be more fit? Do you want to have more endurance? Do you want to be stronger? What do you want to be? A lot of people, I use the example for people who grew up maybe poor or in a bad family. They had a clear picture of what they wanted to avoid, and that sparked them to take action. So let's say somebody wanted to avoid poverty, and that provided them the urgency to make money. But then some people might sell drugs, or they might steal, or they might take a job that pays well, but they don't like that job. They actually hate it. And so they had good urgency, but it didn't point them in the right direction. So when you identify what you want to achieve and who you want to become, that provides direction to your sense of urgency. And so, for example, if somebody says, I want to avoid being overweight and I want to avoid being not confident, but then they start running, but they actually hate running, then they're going to quit and not be consistent with that. Or let's say somebody starts a diet because they want to avoid being overweight, but they don't like the food that they're eating. They're not moving in the right direction, if you will. So if you identify what you want to achieve and who you want to become, then it provides you with intentional direction that provides you with a sense of enjoyment of your process and purpose to your process. And so for me, in my marathon goal, my direction, or the type of person that I want to become, is I want to continue to be the type of person who walks the walk, who takes on things that intimidates them, that does things that puts them outside of their comfort zone. And again, for me, that's going to be doing a marathon at the beginning of the year, and a little bit later on in the year, I'm going to be doing a Spartan race, which I've never done before in my life. So you want to start off by identifying what you want to avoid, because it will provide you with urgency. Then you want to identify what you want to achieve and who you want to become, because it provides direction to that urgency. The third and final angle of motivation, which to me is one of the biggest levers that anybody can pull and they're missing out on, before I dive into it, is I want you to book a free call with me if you feel like you need more motivation, if you feel like you need that sense of direction of I want to become more fit, but I don't really know what my goals are. I don't really know how to carry that out. Then that's why you book a free call with me. Go to nickcarrier.com, book a day and a time that works best for you. We'll hop on Zoom for 30 minutes. We'll hash it out, and we'll get you more motivated than ever before. I can promise you that. But the third angle of motivation is identify who you are doing this for. Because look, I will be the first one to tell you, you are improving your own health for yourself. But in my experience, both in coaching over 800 people in the 10-week transformation, having taught over 5,000 fitness classes and worked with thousands and thousands of people are not going to work as hard for themselves as they will for other people. And so this can come in the form of, I am wanting to be a positive role model for my kids, or I'm wanting to set a good example for my parents, or I want to set a good example for my significant other, or for my brother, or for my sister, whoever it is. Identify who you have the ability to positively impact through your changes that you're making in your health and fitness. Think about these couple of examples here real quick. When you're watching a movie and the main character, the person that you're really cheering for, is about to die, let's say, what happens? Usually the people that they love flash to their mind. That's who they're thinking of. They're thinking of their significant other. They're thinking of their parents. They're thinking of their kids or whatever. And often that vision that they have of the people that they love is the motivation they need to fight and survive. And then also another great example of this is like pregnant women. Oftentimes, the recommendation at least is to not drink alcohol, not do drugs, etc. And oftentimes people, before they're pregnant, they are drinking alcohol and maybe they are doing some sort of drugs. But then when they are pregnant, they stop. And maybe it's somewhat difficult, but it's never really a decision. It's like they know I'm not doing it. Why is it not a decision? Why is it not really maybe all that difficult? It's because they're doing it for another person. They're doing it for that person who's growing inside of them. So sometimes if we can have somebody else that we know we have the ability to positively impact, so that provides us with a sense of responsibility, and that provides us with a sense of like, okay, this has a lot of purpose, this has a lot of meaning to it. I am going to do it. So again, identify whether it's your significant other, your parents, your kids, a friend, whoever it is that you could positively impact through inspiration, through helping them, through whatever it is, through setting a good example. Like, you have the ability to positively impact other people, and don't sell yourself short of keeping those people top of mind that can provide you with motivation. For me and my marathon goal, I'm doing the marathon so that I can help people who go into something that intimidates them, and I can communicate my experience when doing something that intimidates me. I can help people that ask for advice about marathon training. I can relate with people and connect with people and build relationships because of doing marathon training. And I can inspire people to go do something that might scare them as well. And so if you identify what you will want to avoid, it provides you with urgency to take action. If you identify what you want to achieve and who you want to become, it provides direction for that urgency. Then if you identify who you are doing it for, or who you have the ability to positively impact, that will provide you with resilience throughout the process. I promise you, if you can take the time, this is not a process that takes 60 seconds. This is a process that takes minimum 5 minutes, if not closer to 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes to sit down and answer those few questions in a long format. Like, answer them in a few paragraphs to start, maybe 8, 9, 10 sentences to start, and then boil it down to 2, 3, or 4 emotionally impactful sentences that you can then go back to and read. I would recommend one time a week. And if you can read those one time a week, it will be fresh and top of mind, therefore providing you the urgency, the direction, and the resilience that you need in order to stay consistent with whatever goal is that you're pursuing. I promise you, I know that identifying your why kind of sounds a little like mushy and like it's not all that worth it, but holy crap, I promise you, it is, to me, one of the biggest reasons why people fall short is like they pick goals that aren't really that meaningful to them. And if you start writing your why for your goal that you already set for yourself, and you realize the why doesn't provide you with a whole lot of juice, then you picked the wrong goal. If that why doesn't provide you with juice, you've picked the wrong goal. So pick a different goal that does provide you with juice, that will provide you with motivation, because that's the thing that you're going to be able to stay consistent with. So often people pick goals that don't provide them with a whole lot of motivation, and then they wonder why they fall off 3 weeks into the year. Well, it's like, you didn't pick the right goal for you. So make sure that you take the time to sit down, identify these 3 angles of motivation for yourself so that the goal that you select is meaningful and powerful for you. Also, again, if you need help identifying your goal, if you need help identifying these 3 angles of motivation and coming up with the weekly routines, then book a free call with me. Go to nickcarrier.com. We'll hop on a 30-minute call, and I just want to help you. I just want to identify the things that you want to achieve. I want to identify the weekly habits that we need to implement in order to achieve it, and then let's go. So book a free call with me at nickcarrier.com at a day and time that works best for you. Other than that, y'all, happy 2025. I'm really excited for this upcoming year. I've got a lot in store. I know you've probably got a lot in store as well. So I appreciate you continuing to tune in to the Best You podcast. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure that if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, hit that follow button. If you're watching on Spotify now, welcome. We're doing video on Spotify now, so I'm super excited about that. If you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe down below. Other than that, I hope today's information, today's podcast, allows you to get closer to your health and fitness goals, and ultimately allows you to get closer and closer to your best you.